You can't seem to shake him off, can you? No matter how hard you try, his face, his voice, his touch, they all linger in your mind, like an echo you can't escape. You think about him during the day, at night, in between tasks, and you wonder, why is it so hard to move on? Why does he have this power over your thoughts, your heart, your emotions? Here's the truth you've been ignoring. It's not just love, it's psychology. Your mind is hardwired to fixate on certain people, and what feels like obsession might actually be a sign of deeper emotional patterns. Stick with me until the end, and I'll show you the real reason he's always on your mind and how to finally take back control. You've felt it. That feeling of someone constantly occupying your mind, whether it's someone you've just met or someone who's been in your life for years. It's a strange, almost suffocating sensation, like your mind can't quite escape their presence. And no matter how hard you try to focus on something else, their image, their voice, their actions are always there, lingering, pulling you back. What's going on inside your mind? Why do you feel like you can't shake this attachment, this need for connection? The truth is, we're all wired for connection. It's in our biology, our very makeup. Our brains are designed to form bonds, to attach to others. From the moment you're born, you're learning how to connect, how to trust, how to love. It's part of what makes us human, but somewhere along the way, this natural drive for connection becomes complicated. The very thing that makes us feel alive and seen can also start to control us. We become obsessed with these bonds, particularly with the people who make us feel like we matter, who make us feel like we belong. It's a paradox, isn't it? The desire to be connected is beautiful, but when the attachment deepens, when it gets tangled in the corners of your heart and mind, it's overwhelming, and the brain, the very thing that's supposed to help you make sense of everything, starts to work against you. The more you think about that person, the more you feel drawn to them. The brain releases dopamine, the chemical responsible for pleasure and reward. Each thought about them is like a tiny hit of that dopamine. And so you think about them more. You crave more of that feeling, that connection. The cycle starts. The bond becomes something you can't easily break, even if it's unhealthy, even if it's one-sided. But why does it feel so out of control? Why can't you just let go? It's because the brain doesn't just crave connection. It craves certainty. When you form an attachment to someone, your brain looks for patterns, seeks predictability in the relationship. You start associating their presence with comfort, with a sense of safety. But when that safety is threatened, when they pull away, when things aren't as stable as they once were, that's when the obsession begins. You start overthinking. What did you do wrong? Why aren't they responding? Why can't you just move on? Here's where it gets tricky. The attachment you have to them can create a sense of insecurity that clouds your judgment. The brain's wiring becomes fixated on the emotional highs and lows, the push and pull, the uncertainty. Instead of seeing things for what they are, you start seeing what you want them to be. You get stuck in that cycle, hoping for things to change, wishing they would act in a way that reassures you. But it's a cycle that leads nowhere. In these moments when you feel trapped, when your thoughts seem to spin in endless loops around them, it's important to take a step back. It's important to remember that emotional attachment doesn't define your worth. The feelings you have are real, yes, but they don't dictate your reality. You can feel deeply for someone without losing yourself in the process. Attachment doesn't have to bind you to unhealthy situations, to emotional turmoil, or to someone who isn't able to meet you where you need to be. This is where the shift happens. Understanding the roots of emotional attachment gives you the power to step outside the cycle. It's not easy, but it is possible. You start recognizing when your attachment is becoming something unhealthy, something that's keeping you stuck. And once you see it, once you acknowledge the patterns in your mind, you can begin to break free. The first step is awareness. The second step is letting go of the need for constant reassurance. constant validation from someone else. You have to learn to validate yourself. You have to learn to be whole, independent, and at peace with who you are without needing someone else to complete you. And when you do, when you begin to free yourself from the mental grip of attachment, something incredible happens. You regain control over your emotions. You regain control over your thoughts. You stop obsessing over someone else's presence in your life and start focusing on your own path, your own growth, your own peace. This is the real power of emotional attachment, not when it holds you back, but when you recognize it for what it is, just a part of being human, a part that doesn't define you, a part that you can understand and then move beyond. The moment you let go of the unhealthy attachment is the moment you reclaim your freedom. And that right there is where the real transformation begins. You feel it every time you see him. That spark, that rush, a flicker deep inside that pulls you in, igniting something you can't quite explain, but something you can't ignore either. The way your heart races when your phone buzzes, the instant dopamine hit you get when his name flashes on the screen. You can't stop thinking about him. You crave the next message, the next glance, the next interaction. You tell yourself it's just excitement, just attraction, but deep down, you know there's something more. This isn't just you being infatuated. It's not some fleeting emotion that will go away with time. This is something your brain is doing to you. Your brain is chemically wired to crave this, to pull you back into the cycle over and over again. Dopamine, the very thing that makes you feel alive, that turns every moment of connection into something worth chasing. The brain releases it like a reward system when something feels good, when something excites you. And nothing excites you quite like the presence of someone who stirs your soul, who makes you feel seen, who makes your heart race. The problem is, it doesn't stop there. Every time you think about him, every time he texts you or you see his face, your brain gets another dose of dopamine. It becomes like a drug. You crave that feeling more and more, and with every hit, it strengthens the bond, the pull. It's not just about attraction anymore, it's about the chemical addiction that's forming in your brain. The need for that next rush, that next connection. The pleasure is real, but so is the dependence. This is the cycle you're caught in. The more dopamine you get, the more your brain begins to rely on it. You start to look for it, to chase it. You start rearranging your life, your thoughts, your emotions around this feeling, around him. And just like any addiction, the more you feed it, the stronger the need becomes. You want more, you need more. And without even realizing it, you're starting to lose control. Your mind is no longer in the driver's seat. The rush of dopamine, but here's the thing, this isn't all your fault. You were designed this way. Our brains are wired to bond, to seek pleasure, to connect. It's biological. When something feels good, your brain encourages you to keep doing it. It's like a safety mechanism telling you that what you're doing is important. It's rewarding, it's worth more of your energy and time. It's why you can't stop thinking about him, why you keep hoping he'll notice you, why you keep waiting for that next high. It's natural. It's the way your body works. But that doesn't mean it's healthy. The challenge comes when this cycle becomes all-consuming, when it starts dictating your emotions, your decisions, and your sense of self-worth. When the dopamine rush becomes the only thing that validates you, you've stepped into dangerous territory. So how do you break free? How do you stop yourself from being controlled by this chemical rush that has you hooked? The first step is recognizing what's happening. Understand that the craving isn't just about him, it's about the dopamine, the pleasure your brain is seeking. It's about breaking the cycle of needing more. You have to detach the emotion from the chemical response. The attraction you feel is real, but it's also being fueled by a chemical that wants more from you. That's where the shift happens. Once you realize the role dopamine plays, you can start to reclaim your power. It's about learning how to create balance, how to not let one person's presence dictate your mood, your thoughts, or your actions. It's about learning how to find pleasure and fulfillment outside of the rush. It's about stepping back and recognizing that the need to feel good, to feel validated, can't always come from someone else. You are enough without the constant craving. You are complete on your own, with or without him. The cycle of attraction doesn't have to control you. You don't have to keep chasing that next high. It's hard, but it's possible. And the moment you start breaking free from the need for dopamine to define your emotions, you start to see things clearly. You start to see the person for who they are, not for the chemical rush they provide. You start to see your own worth, your own power, and the strength it takes to stop seeking validation from outside sources. This isn't about erasing the attraction or pretending the feelings aren't real. It's about understanding them. It's about not letting them run your life, not letting them define you. When you break the cycle, when you stop chasing the next rush, you step into your own strength. You reclaim your freedom, your peace, and your control. You don't need dopamine to define your connection. You don't need the chemical rush to know that you matter. You are whole, you are powerful, and you can break free from this cycle. That's the real transformation. There's a weight you carry, even when you're alone, a knot in your chest, a deep unease that grips your heart. And no matter how much you try to focus on other things, your mind always drifts back to one thought. What if they leave? What if they abandon you? You try to push it away, but it always comes back. It's that constant worry, that fear that you can't shake off. You may not fully understand it, but deep down, you know this fear is real. It's a fear that goes beyond logic, beyond reason. It's the primal fear of being abandoned, left behind, discarded. It's the fear that once someone who means something to you is no longer there, you'll be invisible, alone, unimportant. And it's this fear that makes you obsess, that keeps you tethered to someone who might not even be capable of giving you the reassurance you crave. It's not just about them anymore. It's about you, about your sense of self-worth, your need to be seen, to be needed. When someone becomes emotionally distant or unavailable, it triggers something deep within your psyche. You start to question everything. What did I do wrong? Why am I not enough? It's almost like your mind can't help but spiral, caught in the loop of trying to figure out the reason for their distance. The problem is, the more you think about it, the more your brain locks onto them, and the harder it becomes to move on. You feel like you need answers, closure, anything to fill the void that their absence is creating. But here's the harsh truth. Sometimes there is no answer. Sometimes they won't change. Sometimes they can't give you what you need. And yet you keep thinking about them, trying to hold on to something that's slipping through your fingers. It's the fear of abandonment that has you stuck in this cycle, trapping you in a place where your mind can't escape. The more they pull away, the more your fear grows, and the more it drives you to overthink, to obsess, to hold on tight. But here's the real challenge. Recognizing that this isn't about them, it's about you. The fear of abandonment isn't just about losing someone, it's about what that loss represents. It's about feeling unimportant, like you're not enough to be held on to. It's about that deep primal wound that's triggered whenever someone you care about pulls away or goes silent. And that fear, it has a way of amplifying everything, making every silence feel like rejection. Every word unsaid feel like a door closing. Your brain starts to fill in the gaps with worst-case scenarios. You start to imagine the worst, not because you want to, but because your fear makes it seem like the only way to protect yourself. But you don't have to stay in this cycle. You don't have to let the fear control you. This is where the shift begins. The key to breaking free from this spiral is understanding that the fear you feel isn't a reflection of the other person's worth or behavior. It's a reflection of how you value yourself. When you fear abandonment, it's because deep down, you might not feel worthy of being loved in the way you need. You might not believe you're enough, and that fear keeps you tied to someone who isn't giving you what you need. It's time to face this truth. You cannot control how others treat you, but you can control how you treat yourself. You have to look inward and ask yourself, why am I letting this fear control my life? The moment you recognize that the fear of abandonment isn't about them, but about your own internal battles, you begin to take your power back. You can't expect someone to fill a void within you that only you can heal. You can't look to someone else to fix the fear that is rooted in your past, your experiences, and your sense of self-worth. You are the one who has to make peace with your own value, with your own importance. You have to learn how to stand firm, even when someone else is distant or unavailable. And that's when the real transformation happens. The moment you stop letting the fear control you, you start to see things clearly. You start to realize that you are worthy of love, of attention, and of respect, not because of how much someone else can give you, but because of who you are. The fear of abandonment starts to lose its grip. When you stop depending on others to validate your worth, you will find that slowly, you can release the tight grip you have on someone who isn't available in the way you need. You will find that, gradually, you can stop obsessing over what they think and start focusing on what you need to do for yourself. The fear of abandonment will never fully disappear. It's part of being human, part of how we're wired to crave connection. But you will learn how to face it, how to live with it without letting it control you. You will find peace within yourself. And in that peace, you will discover that the only validation you truly need is your own. And when you finally learn to stand in your own worth, you will realize that no matter what happens, you will never be abandoned, because you will have found something even more powerful. The ability to stand alone, whole and complete, no matter what anyone else does. You know the feeling. One moment, everything seems perfect. The sparks are there. The connection is undeniable. You feel alive in their presence, your heart racing, your mind lost in the promise of something more. But then just as quickly, it all shifts. The warmth fades, silence creeps in, the once steady rhythm of your thoughts starts to stumble, confusion setting in, like a storm cloud hanging over your head. What happened? Why does it feel like they're pulling away when you need them to stay? You've been here before, haven't you? Caught in the cycle of emotional highs and lows, like an unpredictable roller coaster. One minute, you're soaring, and the next, you're plummeting to the depths of doubt and uncertainty. And yet, no matter how much it hurts, no matter how many times they let you down, you find yourself coming back. It doesn't make sense, does it? You know what you deserve. You know you shouldn't settle for the inconsistency, the back and forth, the emotional games. And yet, you keep going back. The cycle spins, and you're trapped in it, torn between the desire for something real and the harsh reality of what they're offering. That tension you feel, the push and pull, the craving for the highs despite the lows. That's cognitive dissonance at work. Your mind is torn between two opposing forces. You want to believe in the connection, in the possibility of something lasting, something solid. But reality keeps reminding you of the truth, that this person, this relationship, isn't giving you what you need. It's a psychological discomfort that pulls you in two directions, a constant battle between your desires and the reality of the situation. And that discomfort, that gap, is exactly what keeps you stuck. It's almost like your brain is trying to reconcile the difference between what you want and what is. You rationalize. You tell yourself it's just a phase, that things will get better, that maybe they'll change. You convince yourself that the love, the care, the connection you've felt at times is worth holding on to. And yet, the truth looms over you. What they've shown you, the cold distance, the emotional unavailability, the games they play, those are the facts. Your heart wants to ignore the facts because it wants what it wants, but your mind knows better. And therein lies the struggle. The emotional roller coaster becomes addictive. The highs, no matter how fleeting, make you feel seen, validated, alive. It's like chasing a high that your mind craves, even if the crash is inevitable. The problem is, the more you get caught in the cycle, the harder it is to break free. You keep thinking, maybe this time it'll be different. Maybe this time they'll change. But the truth is, every time you go back, you're only reinforcing the dissonance. reinforcing the belief that the pain is worth the pleasure, that the uncertainty is worth the connection. This is where the shift happens. You have to acknowledge the cycle, the dissonance, and the hurt for what it is. You have to admit that no amount of emotional highs can mask the truth. No matter how much your heart wants to believe it, the highs will always be followed by lows, the validation always fleeting, and the hope always distant. You deserve more than this, but you can't expect more from someone who can't give it to you. That's the hard truth. Breaking free from this cycle means facing the discomfort head on. It means recognizing that the emotional roller coaster, while thrilling at times, is not a healthy relationship. It's not love. It's a pattern, a habit, a psychological loop that keeps you tied to something that doesn't serve you. You have to get real with yourself. The dissonance won't disappear overnight, but with time, you can start to recognize it for what it is, an unhealthy attachment, a bond built on hope instead of truth. This is your chance to choose yourself, to stop chasing the highs and enduring the lows. It's not about cutting them off. It's about letting go of the hold they have on you. It's about shifting your focus from the endless emotional cycle to finding peace within yourself. Because when you stop fighting the dissonance, when you stop trying to reconcile the impossible, you open up space for clarity. You start to see your worth, your strength, your ability to stand firm on your own. You don't need the roller coaster. You don't need the highs and lows to feel alive. The moment you let go of the need for constant emotional validation is the moment you break free from the cycle. You stop chasing the highs, stop holding on to the hope that things will change, and you start building something solid with yourself. You realize that you don't need someone else to validate your worth. You've always been enough. And that's when the real transformation happens. The moment you stop being torn between what you want and what you deserve is the moment you step into your true power. You keep telling yourself you're done. You keep trying to push it all away, the thoughts, the feelings, the memories. But no matter how hard you try, your mind always drifts back to him. It doesn't matter how much time has passed, how many distractions you put in your path, something in you clings to the idea of him. And it's like your brain just won't let go. You wonder why after everything you still can't get over him. You've moved on from everything else. So why can't you just move on from this? Here's the truth. It's not just emotional attachment. It's not just about how much you cared, how much you loved, or how deep the connection felt. Your mind has literally been rewired. Each time you thought about him, each moment you let your heart race when he crossed your mind, your brain formed new pathways. It reinforced the idea of him. Your brain learned that thinking about him felt familiar, comforting, even if it was painful. It learned that certain actions, certain memories, certain triggers would pull you back into that space. And now even when you want to move on, your brain is stuck on repeat, retracing the same neural pathways that lead back to him. You're not weak. You're not incapable of moving on. Your brain just resists change. It resists the new, the unknown, the unfamiliar. The brain is wired to follow patterns, to keep returning to what it knows because it feels safe. Even if that thing, that person, no longer serves you, your brain is still anchored in those old memories, those old feelings. Every time you try to move forward, your brain pulls you back to what it knows, to the person who's already left you behind. And the more you try to fight it, the more that resistance becomes a battle within yourself. The very act of trying to get over him only reinforces the cycle, because you're focusing all your energy on him, even when you want to let go. It's a mental trap, one that feels like it's impossible to escape. But here's the breakthrough. You can retrain your brain. You can teach it to stop going down that path, to stop looking for the familiar even when it's toxic. The first step is understanding this isn't something you have to force. It's not about willpower alone. It's about awareness. It's about knowing that the neural pathways leading back to him are there, and that they've been created over time. Just like any habit, they can be undone, but it takes patience, practice, and a willingness to allow the change to happen. You have to stop seeing yourself as trapped, because you aren't. You just need to redirect your thoughts, to start giving your brain new patterns to follow. You need to choose a new path. It's not easy. You've spent so much time thinking about him, so much time letting your emotions be tied to him, that it feels impossible to untangle yourself. But every time you choose to focus on yourself instead of him, every time you remind yourself that you deserve more than living in the shadow of someone who's no longer part of your life, you start creating new neural pathways. Each moment you break the cycle, each time you catch yourself thinking about him and gently steer your mind to something else, you're reinforcing a new way of thinking. Over time, your brain will start to break the old patterns. It will stop looking for him in the spaces where he no longer belongs. And when that happens, something incredible shifts. The heaviness starts to lift. The constant tug of his memory lessens, and you begin to feel lighter, freer. You realize that you can exist without constantly being pulled back to him. You realize that you have the power to choose what you let occupy your mind, what you let dictate your emotional state. Moving on isn't about forcing yourself to forget him. It's about choosing to prioritize your own well-being, your own growth, your own peace. It's about stopping the cycle of fixation and starting the process of healing. You may not get over him overnight. The brain doesn't change instantly, but the more you practice shifting your focus, the more you give your mind the opportunity to heal, the more you will begin to feel a sense of closure, even if it's gradual. This isn't about forgetting. It's about freeing yourself. It's about releasing the grip he's had on your thoughts and giving yourself permission to live a life that's yours, without the constant reminder of someone who isn't in it anymore. You are not defined by this attachment. You are not defined by the thoughts of someone who no longer serves you. And the moment you realize that, the moment you take control of your own mental space, you will break free. You've been living with a story in your mind for so long now. It's a story that's become your reality. It's the one where you're constantly trying to figure out what went wrong, why things fell apart, why you can't just move on. You've told yourself this story over and over again about how things were supposed to work out, about how you deserved more, about how your heart got broken by someone who couldn't give you what you needed. And now this story is all that's left. It's the lens through which you see everything. But what if that story is holding you back? What if the very narrative you've built around him, around the relationship, is the reason you can't let go? Every time you think about him, you replay the same scenes in your mind. You replay the good moments, the promises, the feelings you had, but you also replay the pain, the confusion, the emptiness, the unfulfilled needs. And each time you do this, you reinforce the same narrative. The story you tell yourself isn't just about the past. It's shaping your present and your future. It's keeping you stuck, trapped in a loop, unable to move forward. But here's the thing, the story you've been telling yourself isn't the only story. The truth is, it's just one version of events, and it's a version that's keeping you tied to someone who no longer belongs in your life. The pain, the obsession, the fixation, it's all part of the narrative you've created. And if you want to free yourself, you need to learn how to change that story. You need to challenge the way you've been thinking about what happened. It's not easy. It's hard to rewrite a story that's been your truth for so long. But think about it. How much has this story served you? Has it helped you heal? Has it helped you move on? Or has it kept you in the same place, emotionally stuck, always wondering, always aching for someone who's not there? It's time to start questioning the narrative. What if the story you've been telling yourself isn't the truth at all? What if there's another perspective? One where you can see the situation with clearer eyes. One where you can understand that what happened wasn't about you, but about them, about where they were in their life. What if you stopped blaming yourself for things you couldn't control? What if you stopped holding on to a version of events that only keeps you tied to the past? Shifting your narrative doesn't mean pretending that everything was fine, that the pain didn't matter, that the heartache wasn't real. It means taking a step back and looking at the bigger picture. It means acknowledging that the relationship wasn't meant to be, that things didn't work out for a reason, but that doesn't define your worth. It doesn't define who you are. You have the power to rewrite your story. You have the power to shift the narrative from one of fixation and loss to one of growth and freedom. It's about changing how you see yourself in relation to what happened. It's about recognizing that you didn't lose something. You freed yourself. You didn't miss out on love. You made space for a love that is right for you, a love that will honor you in the way you deserve. The moment you start shifting the way you think about your past, you start reclaiming your present. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances and start seeing yourself as someone who has learned, who has grown, who is stronger because of the experience. The story you've been telling yourself no longer defines you. You are not defined by the heartbreak. You are not defined by someone else's inability to meet you halfway. You are defined by your resilience, by your ability to rise from the ashes, by your capacity to heal and to move forward. This is your chance to let go of the narrative that has been holding you hostage. This is your opportunity to create a new story, one where you are the hero, one where you take control of your life, your emotions, and your future. Every time you change the story, you're one step closer to freedom. Every time you stop replaying the same painful scenes, you create room for something new. You create room for peace, for joy, for the possibility of love that isn't based on someone who no longer deserves your heart. When you finally see that you hold the pen, when you realize that you have the power to reshape your story, everything changes. You stop being defined by your past. You stop being a prisoner to your own mind. You start living with intention, and in that shift, you find the freedom you've been searching for. You've spent so much time thinking about him. Your mind, your emotions, everything revolves around him. You think about what he said, what he didn't say, how he made you feel. You replay the moments over and over again as if you're searching for something you missed, something that might explain everything, something that could bring peace. And yet, no matter how much you focus on him, no matter how much you try to understand him, you find yourself further away from the one person you need to be close to, the person you've been neglecting yourself. It's easy to lose yourself in someone else. It's easy to get caught up in their world, to make them the center of your universe. But the more you focus on him, the more you lose sight of who you really are. Your goals, your dreams, your passions, they get drowned out by the noise of him. You've spent so much energy chasing after answers, trying to figure out what went wrong, that you've forgotten the most important thing, your own peace of mind. And now you're stuck. You're stuck in this cycle of emotional fixation, unable to break free. You can't remember the last time you did something for yourself, the last time you woke up excited about your own life, not someone else's. But here's the truth. The longer you stay fixated on him, the further you drift from the person you need to be. And if you keep letting him occupy the space in your heart and mind, there's no room left for you. This is where you take a step back. You need to create space for yourself again. You need to rediscover who you are when you're not defined by him, by the relationship, by the drama. It's time to shift the focus back to you. It's time to let go of the mental and emotional clutter that's kept you bound to him and start rebuilding a life that's solely about you. It starts with reclaiming your passions, your goals, your purpose. Think back to the things you used to love doing, the things that made you feel alive before he came into the picture. What made you smile before your happiness was tied to him? Maybe it's a hobby you gave up. Maybe it's a career path you've always dreamed of pursuing, but never had the chance to explore. Now is the time to reconnect with those things. No more excuses. No more waiting for someone else to make you feel good enough to do what you love. Reclaim that space for yourself. Building a life that doesn't revolve around him isn't just about doing things for yourself. It's about rediscovering your identity outside of the relationship. It's about remembering that you are whole on your own, that your happiness doesn't need to be dependent on someone else. It's about realizing that you are enough without him. This is a hard truth, but it's one you need to hear. You've been giving him power over your life, over your peace, over your sense of self-worth. And when you let someone else define you, you lose yourself. But when you create space for yourself, when you stop letting someone else dictate your happiness, you take back your power. You stop living in the shadow of someone who isn't there for you, and you start living for yourself again. I know it's not easy. Letting go of someone who has been such a big part of your life takes time, but each moment you focus on yourself, each step you take to reconnect with your passions, with your goals, with your identity, those are steps toward your freedom. You are not defined by the relationship. You are not defined by the hurt. You are defined by your strength, by your resilience, by your ability to move forward. The moment you create space for yourself is the moment you start to heal. The moment you choose yourself over someone else is the moment you reclaim your peace. And when that happens, you'll realize something incredible. You never needed him to feel complete. You never needed him to find your worth. You've always had everything you need within yourself. It's time to step into that truth. Now take a deep breath. Let go of the weight you've been carrying. Focus on you. Build the life you deserve. And when you look in the mirror, you'll finally see the person you've been missing all along. You, whole, complete, powerful, and free. There's a weight you've been carrying, a heaviness that sits on your chest, tightens your stomach, and clouds your mind. It's the thoughts of him, the memories, the moments, the what-ifs. Every time you try to move forward, those thoughts come rushing back. And no matter how many times you tell yourself to let go, no matter how hard you try to push it all aside, he's still there, lingering in your mind. It feels impossible, like you're shackled to the past. And no matter how far you try to run, it always pulls you back. But here's the truth. Letting go isn't about forgetting. It's not about pretending that everything you felt didn't matter. It's about taking back your power. It's about refusing to let someone who no longer belongs in your life control your emotional state. You don't have to erase the past, but you do have to stop letting it define you. You have to stop allowing him to occupy the precious space in your heart and mind that could be used for something much greater: your own healing, your own peace, your own future. The more you fixate on him, the less room you leave for yourself. The more you focus on the hurt, on the longing, on the unanswered questions, the more you drain yourself. You're living in a place of constant emotional exhaustion, trying to hold on to something that isn't there. But it's time to release that grip. It's time to let go. I know it feels terrifying. Letting go means facing the fear of the unknown. It means stepping into the uncertainty of not having him there. It means confronting the feelings of vulnerability that come with losing someone who once felt like you're everything. But holding on isn't keeping you safe, it's keeping you stuck. Every day you keep him in your thoughts, you keep yourself from moving forward. You keep yourself trapped in a cycle that doesn't serve you anymore. And the longer you stay in this cycle, the longer you're robbing yourself of the opportunity to heal, to grow, to find peace again. Letting go isn't about erasing the good moments, the love that once existed, or the memories that shaped you. It's about accepting that those moments have passed. It's about recognizing that they were part of your journey, but they don't define your destination. It's about acknowledging the pain without letting it consume you. Letting go is choosing to walk away from the past, not because you don't care, but because you care enough about yourself to stop letting it hold you hostage. When you let go, you open up space for new possibilities. You open yourself up to healing. You make room for new love, new experiences, new opportunities. But you can't embrace what's coming if you're still holding on to what's already gone. It's time to let go of the mental grip he has on you. It's time to take back the energy, the emotions, the thoughts that you've given away for too long. It's time to reclaim your peace. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it hurts. But the more you resist the urge to hold on, the more you free yourself. Letting go doesn't mean you didn't care. It doesn't mean you didn't love. It just means you've finally come to a point where you realize that your peace of mind, your happiness, and your future are far more important than staying attached to something that's no longer serving you. This is your moment to step into your own power, to rediscover who you are without him, to find yourself again. You don't need him to define your worth. You never did. You were whole before he entered your life. And you'll be whole after he's gone. Letting go isn't the end. It's the beginning of a new chapter. It's the beginning of healing. It's the beginning of freedom. So take a deep breath. Feel the weight. Lift just a little bit with each exhale. The more you let go, the more you'll find that peace you've been searching for. The more you'll realize that you have the strength within you to move forward, to create a life that is yours. You are not bound by the past. You are not defined by someone else's presence or absence. You are free. And in that freedom, you will discover a power far greater than anything you could have imagined. A power that was always inside you. A power that you're reclaiming, piece by piece, with every step you take toward letting go. Now reflect on everything you've learned. You have the power to take back your mind, your emotions, and your life. Don't let anyone have that kind of control over you anymore. If this message resonated with you, like this video and subscribe for more insight. It's time to reclaim your peace, because the best version of you is waiting to emerge.